Violinist Lindsey Stirling has often marched to the beat of her own drum, or in her case, danced to the beat of her own violin. In her new book, The Only Pirate at the Party, Stirling and her sister Brooke Passey share Stirling's unique life story, touching on everything from the moment that she wowed us all with her talents on national TV to her private battles with eating disorders. And Lindsey and Brooke join me now. So ladies, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for chatting with us.
Well, no, it's great to have you both. And this really is kind of like a collaboration, isn't it? Tell us why. Why are you both sitting here as opposed to just one of you?
Well, gosh, Brooke is an amazing writer. She's always been extremely talented with written words, where I have been good at writing music. And so when I decided I wanted to write my story down, I felt like I had all these things to share. Before even talking to my management about it, I called Brooke on the phone.
Yeah, so she called me up, said, you want to write me a book, help me write my book? And okay, that sounds like fun.
But I feel like this is a cool thing because, you know, who better to know you than a sister? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, and Brooke knows, not only does she know my life backward and forward, because she really has been there with me, you know, of course, obviously through the childhood, but we were roommates in college. She's come on tour with me several times, you know, so she's been to red carpets with me. She was my date to the Billboard Awards this year.
Nice.
And so Brooke knows me, like, and she was able to capture my voice in, like, the most authentic way, I think, that makes the book really shine.
So were there moments though when you were sort of remembering a story and Brooke, you were like, it wasn't quite like that actually, and there was a little bit of cleanup, or was it sort of very pretty much like, look, this is what I want to say, and this is how is best to say it?
I think mostly there was no like disagreement on facts. I think most of the cleanup was just, you know, between that constant conversation, making sure that we got all the details right, you know, and made it exactly what she was thinking and feeling. But there was never really any back and forth like differences of opinion or anything like that. It was always, we always knew, you know, this was her story. We wanted to get it completely authentic.
Well, I love the title. There's a childhood story behind the title as well. Tell us about it, Lindsey.
Well, actually, there's a adulthood story about that. Actually, is the story of the book title, and you know, there were multiple reasons. I did like love to dress up as a pirate as a kid, and you know, I did for eye therapy purposes. I wore a patch on my eye as a kid, but there's actually a funny story. When I first moved to LA, I got invited to this party, and it was a Peter Pan themed birthday party, and everything that I was told, I was sure it was a costume party. So I had just filmed a pirate-themed music video. I had a full-on get-up. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be Captain Hook. So I show up to this party, full hat, everything. I was the only person dressed up. It's kind of like that scene in Mean Girls where she walks in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was very much that, oh my gosh, I'm trying to be cool, I'm trying to fit in, and I'm the only pirate, I'm the only dressed up person. You know, and then I just thought to myself, this is such a metaphor of my life. Own the pirate costume, go in, and let's make some friends. And
it's so cool that you would do that. Did you make friends? I mean, who are you like,
oh my goodness, I sure did. My friends still laugh about that party. They're like, wait, and they all texted me when they saw my tweet, you know, announcing the book title. They were like, oh my gosh, is that our party that you're named after? And I was like, yep. So that's kind of, and it was a great metaphor for the book in general, just kind of, I want people to take away from it the idea that it's okay to be different. It doesn't, you know, a lot of times it's not like you're trying to be different, but everybody, when they're their authentic selves, is unique.
So, I mean, that notion of sort of being different, I guess it feels more acute when you're younger and at school, I suppose, is when differences really come out. For you, what was sort of the first moment you realized, wow, I think I'm a bit different to everybody else. I don't think I'm quite like everyone else.
Do you want to tell the story?
I don't know that she ever really notices that she's that different. Which is what's so fun about writing the book, was pulling out those pieces where she really didn't notice or care. She was just being herself. I don't know, is there a moment?
Well, I think one of the first stories in the book is that Brooke pulled out of like, no, this is a great way to start. Because actually, Brooke's been great at helping me realize when sometimes things, she's like, no, that's not normal, Lindsey. That's a funny story. Let's put that in. But when I was in first grade, one of the first days of school, I went to school dressed up with like this wig and like this little Chinese kimono that I had found in my parents had this little dress-up closet. And you know, and my mom took me to school dressed like that. She's like, okay, Lindsey. And so that's one of the first stories in the book, and I don't think I realized that that was strange. I just thought to myself, I want to dress fun today.
But what a cool thing that your parents were sort of supportive of that and they weren't sort of saying, oh no, you come on, you can't wear that sort of thing. I mean, how important do you think that is in terms of your own self-development, to have parents, to have siblings that really do support you being true to your authentic self?
You know, I think it was everything to me. Like, my parents were always so encouraging of us to go after our dreams. And hey, yeah, if you want to wear a wig to school today, Linz, you know, all right, here's your lunch, let's go. You know, allowing us to like kind of fall into our own shoes rather than, you know, putting us in them. And I can imagine that would be really scary to do as a parent. You know, the fear would be there that like, what if she's made fun of? What if, you know, what if my little one goes off to school and the kids are mean to her? You know, but I think just that incredible love I felt in my home made me feel like I could own and do the things I wanted to do. And I found in life that if you really own something, who's someone else to question you if you really are owning it?
So, I mean, in terms of sibling support and sisterly love, do you feel like you fed off one another when it came up to that sort of thing? Like, you know, one of you is really, really independent in this regard, and then it kind of rubs off on the other?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're raised, you know, very similarly, but I'm very shy normally, and so like I like being behind the pages of a computer, you know, and writing, and she likes to be out there like sharing everything about herself, and so it was very fun to do this because we all each had our own role in it, and it was just really fun because I got to do what I like to do and be behind the pages, and she got to, you know, we got to really like accentuate her and expose her to the world, which was awesome. And so, you know, we're very different in that way, which is perfect for us because neither of us wants to be what the other person is. We just like being ourselves, and it works really well.
Well, I think it's a great thing as well, especially when you're telling some stories that I think for a lot of people are very difficult to talk about, like eating disorders. You're extremely frank in the book. It's sort of peppered throughout, but there is sort of an entire chapter really devoted to eating disorders and your struggles. It's hard to talk about it. I think it's hard for anybody to talk about it. How easy was it for you both to experience that almost, you know, constantly and then put it to paper?
Yeah, that was definitely it was the hardest thing for me to like really grasp. One, because I've written about it musically. Like my last album was very inspired by the emotions of how it felt to be in and get out of an eating disorder. But to like actually like discuss and write about, and also I've kind of like, I've tried to move past that side of my brain. It's a little unhealthy piece of my brain that will always exist. And I've tried to kind of cover it up, you know, and revisiting it to like, how did I feel? Why did I do that? When did I realize I had it? It was almost like revisiting something that actually felt kind of therapeutic in a way. It was like another layer of coping with it. But Brooke, it was really interesting because
well, she had talked about earlier how we've been so close throughout our whole life, and we've really shared in a lot of the experiences that she's had, but that was one piece that I've never experienced, and so it was really, really daunting to me to try to portray that with her and make it correct. So we spent the most time on that section, and there were so many different facets, like you were saying. It's a very big, wide open topic. Did we want to talk about how, the why, the when, you know, and so we just kind of had to really pick and choose what did our focus want to be about that. And I think, you know, you can share a little bit more why you wanted to go into that
what was
so
important
much.
for you to, you know, to get across to your fans? I mean, your fans are the ones who are going to be reading this book. What did you want to sort of tell them about that part of, you know, part of you,
Yeah.
and also then that sort of large chunk of your life?
I really felt it was extremely important just for me to in-depth talk about how I felt, how I realized I had it. And the reason is because, as I say in the pages, I didn't realize for a really long time that I had a problem. And I sunk into this, and it changed my life for the, you know, far for the worse. And I didn't even realize I had a problem for so long. And I just am so grateful that I woke up to the fact that I am different, and I want to be that child that wasn't afraid to wear a wig to school. I want to like regain that side of myself. And so I hoped that as people read this, they might realize that, one, maybe they are struggling with, because I think a lot of girls struggle with this. And one, it's scary to admit that you have a problem like that. It's seen as a social, like don't say that word, don't say depression, don't say anorexic, like we don't want to hear it. But to say it's okay to talk about it. That's the only way you're going to get better, is if you confide in loved ones and if you find help, or if you. And so I shared some of the ways that I got over it, and then also that how I realized I had a problem, in hopes that someone might realize they can change if they're unhappy, and whether it's, you know, a drug addiction or whether it's they all kind of stem from the same things.
Yeah.
And the way that you actually talk about the label as well, I thought was fascinating. People I've talked to over the years about eating disorders in various ways, they hate the labels, you know, like no one wants to say, you know, I am anorexic, or I was,
Right.
you know, however they experience it today. Do you think that labels are a problem when it comes to how we talk about eating disorders and that sort of wellness and well-being in general?
Absolutely. When I first realized, well, when I started researching, because I realized I had anorexia and I knew I had a huge problem, I started reading some books about it and looking up, like, trying to help myself before I confided in other people. And I kept reading it was an incurable disease and you will be anorexic forever. And to hear that, when you have this huge problem, I am not going to be like this forever. Like, that's the worst thing you could ever hear. And so I don't feel like I at all relate to I'm an anorexic. You know, I struggled with it. It'll always be a part of me, but it doesn't define me. And I think that's the most important differentiation. And I now understand why they say you'll always have it, but I don't fight with it every day. I don't, you know.
What were you going to say on that?
I was going to say it's not like who she is, and also I think it's a highly misunderstood mental disorder, because most people who, even myself writing it, I was like an eye-opening experience, just because people just think, oh, food, they have a problem eating. It's so much more than that, and I think we were hoping that maybe people who don't necessarily struggle with it personally, but maybe know someone or have family members or friends or whatever, that they can kind of see the other side and gain a little bit more understanding and how to help.
I think it's a fantastic thing to actually talk about, because so many people, you know, may suffer with this and suffer in silence, or they just don't see anyone their age or that, you know, like look like them or into the stuff that they're into, that will say, hey, you know what, I had a problem, but I'm talking about it and I don't want it to define me. Other things that define you, though, and I think they really do stick, is your talents musically. I mean, talk about a fantastic definition and something you've really owned. When did you first get a violin? Tell us about that story and what it was, because it wasn't your typical violin, was it?
Well, when we were kids, my parents used to take us, or our parents used to take us to orchestra concerts and community events. And so, as a child, I started begging for violin lessons I started when I was 6. And yeah, it was a little tiny violin. You know, they make little tiny ones.
Before that, you got the box.
Oh, the box! Yeah, you tell it.
Oh, they started her off because she was so little. They want to make sure she could like hold it correctly and not break it. So they gave her a cardboard box with like a paper towel roll on the end, and she had to learn how to hold it first. To
That's
make sure.
hilarious. Which one of it? So were you all musical in the family? Is this like a musical bug that runs throughout? Because I know you're a writer, Brooke, but also a musician?
Yeah, I played the cello through college. So it's kind of our parents were really, really wanted us to invest in music.
Yeah, your parents must look back now and think, my God, we had like some amazing genes. Damn.
Our parents are so proud of all of their kids. Like, you know, our sister Marina is a painter. You know, she loves to paint. Our other sister Jennifer just became a firefighter. Like, you know, we have a very diverse family, and I know my parents, they're just so proud of all of us.
So tell us a little bit about, obviously we know you most infamously, I guess, on America's Got Talent. What was it like doing that show? I mean, looking back on it now, it's been a few years. What do you think about that experience?
You know, it was a great learning experience. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, especially I got, you know, some pretty harsh critique, and this was my dream. In my mind at that moment, this was my make or break. And so to feel like I fell flat on my face after my make or break chance, I was like, wow, I ruined everything. And so that was another really hard thing to write about. And Brooke was there. She was there in the audience that night, and I think
what do you think about it, Brooke, when you were like watching the performance?
Oh, it was heartbreaking. It was like the most heartbreaking thing I've ever experienced, just sitting there watching her all the way up on the stage, knowing that everyone she'd ever met was watching, and just hearing those words were so horrible. It was almost like one of those moments you're like, what can I do? What can I do? Nothing. Like,
do you think Sharon Osbourne was too harsh? Was she too hard on you?
You know, I think it was hard for them to see the potential. A lot of times you can't see something unless it's like fully baked, you know what I mean? And at the time, it was a half-baked idea that I wasn't quite ready. I don't think I was quite ready for that stage, actually. And so it was really cool when I got to then go back to America's Got Talent as an invited guest performer and perform the way I saw it in my head, but no one else could see it yet.
That takes a lot of guts, I have to say, as well, to have had that experience and sort of, you know, the scars that come along with that, and then to say, you know, no, it's cool, I'm going to go back and I'm going to wow them all. Were you nervous about, you know, having a kind of repeat moment? I mean, you know, it's got to be in your back of your mind.
Oh, 100%. I didn't think I realized how nervous I would be. I was like, this is gonna be so cool. And then I got there and we were sound checking and seeing everything, and even the people that were there when I was there, you know, were still working the show, and just, I had all these flashbacks to my last moment on that stage. And my band later told me, they were like, we could tell you were, you know, we were so nervous for you. Like, but it, you know, it turned out amazing, and boom,
yeah,
did
Brooke,
it.
when you know, as the sibling who's watching on, what did you think when that the second performance went down?
Oh, it was like such a victory moment. Everyone was just so cheering, like, yeah, prove me wrong. It's one of those, you know, movie moments.
Yeah.
The underdog.
Yeah, kind of like a Rocky moment. That
Yes.
was kind of cool. A Rocky
It
moment
was.
with the
Yeah, I
violin.
had my Rocky moment.
Yeah.
I like that.
Hypothetical punches back.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, in terms of actually like getting as well the instrument, I think, out there on the main stage and maybe more accessible to young people in a way that it wasn't before, how important has that been to you? Because I feel like people don't necessarily associate the violin the way you play it.
Right. You know, I've always hated it. We talked a little bit about labels before, and I've always hated it the way people are often categorized. You know, she's tall and slender, she should be a dancer, or, you know, they should play basketball because he's really big, you know, like, I think categories are for cookies and not for people. I feel like just because you play a violin doesn't mean you have to play classical music. Just because you're shaped a certain way doesn't mean you can't be a dancer.
I think that's a great way of putting it. Do you have people, especially your fans, obviously you're huge on social media, you've got such a great following. Do you get people who are, you know, starting out with a violin, messaging you, asking you for advice? Like, you know, is that something that happens every day?
Yeah, another thing I want to someday do is have a tutorial method for violinists, because I get asked a lot of things. I'm like, oh, I wish I had more time to like fully make tutorials and help. So someday that's another.
This is like coming in the works.
Yes.
This is
You'll have to
something that
help me-
Brooke will have to like get you on track and do.
Yes, or she can help me script it to make it really nice and well spoken.
But you know, I think your fans obviously play a huge part in you know where you are and who you are today.
Absolutely.
How has it been for you? Obviously, because you kind of went from being, you know, performing and doing your thing to all of a sudden like internationally known, and you know all these Twitter followers and social media followers. How's that been for you?
You know, I think it's been an interesting ride for our whole family, actually, because you know, Brooke has come with me on the road before, and it's been a really interesting process to go from, you know, oh my gosh, I think I have a fan, I think somebody knows my music, to wow, you know, being able to perform in front of thousands of people, and you know, and then also to bring my loved ones along the ride with me in multiple ways. And so it's been a learning process for all of us to, like, I guess, realize that at the core you never change, like, and I never want to change. I always want to, and I think having my family close with me helps me just always remember where I came from, and that my fans are everything to me, and without them I'd be nowhere. And yeah, but I don't know, has it been interesting for you at all?
Oh, yeah, well, just like you said, yes, but her fans are the best. They're seriously the most kind-hearted people on the planet, and
I do have the sweetest
it's so sweet to just see, see all the different people. You know, they're not just fans; they're people, and you know, she really is so good about seeing that and recognizing that in them. And I think that's kind of her mission, is to really, you know, build people up, not just a group.
Well, I think it's a cool thing you said that, you know, it does impact the whole family. I guess people don't really take that into account. They see you, celebrity, and they think that, you know, you're just like an isolated, again, labels, like the figure, you're a celebrity. And they don't necessarily think about how it impacts the entire family. How have things changed, realistically?
I don't feel it as, like, I definitely don't feel it like day to day. When I'm with her, it's definitely different. I remember the first time I came out on tour with her, it was like, whoa. It was so crazy, you know, people are, you know, screaming, grabbing at her, trying to get her picture, and it was just really, really eye-opening to see that part of her life, and it's been so fun to be there for that, so that we can, you know, stay involved and understanding and, you know, connected to her new life, because it has changed a lot, and it's so fun to stay connected to that and not get, you know, oh, I can't relate, you know. We can relate, because, you know, she keeps us all very involved, and it's been really fun.
Well, I mean, definitely there's a family thread throughout this book. There really is. You know, not just the fact that obviously there was this collaboration in the writing process, but, you know, you talk about your family all the time. Your family are Mormon. And I love this disclaimer. You have this asterisk on one of the pages where you're like, I'm either going to get a lot of fan mail right now or a lot of hate mail. Tell me a little bit about that.
that was Brooke's little like idea to put that in there because Brooke's very witty and clever. But it is interesting how, you know, I found whenever I bring up anything religious, like my religion and my faith, I guess is a better way to say it, is a huge part of what's made me into the person I am. It's the foundation of what our family was built on. And I feel like that's another staple of my life that's helped me kind of just maintain who I am as everything else changes. But whenever I talk about it, it's interesting that this influx of comments of either like, you go girl, like, you know, the Lord is good, to, oh my gosh, like I liked you until I heard you talk about that, you know. And so it's very, I mean, it's kind of sad how talking about faith brings up this huge divide. I mean, and Brooke's seen it.
I think the most interesting thing was in the beginning, when she first started on YouTube, people didn't know. It wasn't like a commonly known fact. Now it is, and so it's not even like, you know, she doesn't even have to think about it. But when she was first, you know, kind of bringing up her faith a little bit into, you know, conversation or just as part of her, there was this huge negative, like, backslide at first, you know, and I think it says a lot about who she is, that she just pushed back on it and said, it doesn't matter, like, that's who I am, so take it or leave it. And now it's you, and most people take it, and it's been really cool to see that.
Do you see it as an extension of the way you sort of perform and through your music? Do you see your faith expressed in any way through music? Is that something that's important to you?
Absolutely, and especially because, you know, most of my music is instrumental. And so, but I feel like I feel very spiritual connection when I write, you know, because I pray really hard and I ask for inspiration, because I believe that these musical notes and these ideas and melodies, they're not coming from just my head. I honestly feel like, and I know they come from somewhere else. And so it's, when I play, I feel like it's almost, you know, God gave me this gift, and I'm able to be His instrument as I play. And so in a huge way, it's my faith coming out of me.
Well, you know, another album is in the offing as well. So tell us a little bit about what we can expect from the third album.
Ooh, so exciting, because I'm in the middle of it right now. I feel, you know, I'm hoping it'll come out in early June. But yeah, I'm hoping this album actually will have maybe even like a half and half of featured vocalists, and then the other half instrumental. You know, I've only ever worked with vocalists a couple times on 2 tracks of my own. And so it's kind of an exciting thing to like be writing more lyrics and to be experimenting also with different sounds. You know, you always have to slightly reinvent yourself, and that's where I'm at.
So, all right, who is going to be featured on this album that you're most excited about? Just because it's a little couple.
Well, actually, to tell you the truth, I don't really know yet. We're writing the songs, and the way I usually work is I'll write the songs, and then we find the right voice for it.
Is there anyone you're dying to work with?
Oh, I'm dying to work with Hayley Williams, Michael Bublé. Those are some of my bucket list people, but we'll see if they're around and available.
Bublé, I mean, Bublé should do this. What's wrong?
Yeah, Michael Bublé.
Yeah, Michael.
You should do this.
He's not busy. He's not. I mean, you know, just carve out a bit of time.
Yeah.
Time management, Michael.
I'll tweet at him after this.
There you go. See, it works though. It works. Isn't that the great thing now?
That's the crazy thing. It does.
Yeah. This is okay. So we'll let you go now, so you can go and tweet Michael Bublé.
Okay.
But what a pleasure, both of you. Thank you so much for coming in, Lindsey and Brooke. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And guys, thanks so much for watching. For more information on Lindsey's new book and of course the upcoming tour dates, be sure to check out her website, lindseysterling.com, and stay tuned. There's much more HuffPost Live coming up next.